Guys, you're about to watch Austin Huskey's speech he gave at the Lean Summit in 2024. He talks about what is your story, and he relates that to his childhood experiences and what that translated to throughout the rest of his days today and how it had to shift and change. Then he goes in and talks about how that impacts, how the story impacts and how the story is being told, how it impacts his business. He's an incredible guy. I hope to go out to visit him. If you want to learn more about him, check the description below. I hope you enjoy the video.
I'm a dumb lumber guy from Nashville, Tennessee, and I kind of mean that. I don't have a college degree. I was not a very good student, and you guys are 50 of the best lean leaders in the world. So it might be a good session for a coffee break. I don't know. Like I said, I'm from Nashville, not across the street from where we are, but I know many of you came from much further than I did. And my team and I in Nashville, we're in the lumber and building material space. So we're not a sawmill. We buy from sawmills and we put together packages for new construction projects. Could be single family houses, could be hotels, kind of anything in between. We manufacture trusses and wall panels. We're also in the millwork space, windows and doors. And it's such an honor to work with these guys and a whole bunch more behind them. It's just a blessing and a blast to see the genius in all of them and the culture they've created. It's just unbelievable. So today, what's your story is my title, and also how are you navigating your team's lean journey? It's kind of struck me as interesting that we use that term, a lean journey, right? You've probably already been asked half a dozen times, tell me about your lean journey. How long have you been on your lean journey? And I think if we've been around it for any length of time, we kind of inherently know why we call it a journey, but just shout it out popcorn style. Why do we call it a journey? Never ends. Never ends? That's a good answer, yeah. Anything else? It's up and down. You never know what's next. You never know what's next, for sure. So I feel like, at least for me, a journey is hard. It takes determination and it takes consistency. And so I think that describes lean. Do you agree? Yeah, so lean is hard. It takes determination and it takes consistency over time. So lean is hard, but is lean complicated? And Paul teaches us in a pretty short paperback. We teach and train our people through daily 3S'ing and meetings. That's a pretty simple roadmap. And yet, I still struggle. I got a good roadmap. I believe that it works, but I don't have the results that Ryan has or that Paul and Lucas has or that Jack and his team here at JJB have. Why? I could stop the presentation right here and just say that I don't execute as well as Ryan's executed, full stop, and we could be done, right? Because that's just true. But for me, it's wrapped up in this question: what's your story? Or put more directly, what story are you telling yourself? And so what do I mean by that? We've all heard perception is reality. I like to take that a step further and say your perception creates your reality, because your perception drives the decisions that you make, the actions that you take, and those actions create your results, which creates your reality. And so it's really, really important to wrestle with our story about ourselves, our story about our team, our situation. And so to illustrate that, I want to tell you a story. So this is me. I'm probably 7 or 8 years old, and I grew up in a big family. There were 6 of us kids. Don't ask me why in the 90s you put kids in red turtlenecks and overalls for a photo shoot in Tennessee, but that's apparently what you do. That's me in the middle right there. And to my left, that's my brother Taylor. And I remember the day, it seemed like, that my younger brother just started kicking my butt at everything. We were always running around outside. It didn't matter if it was football, basketball, hockey, I mean, even chess. It seemed like overnight, I just start getting my butt kicked, right? And that's hard on an older brother. And so I remember the morning I was lamenting this to my dad. It was a Sunday morning. He's shaving, getting ready for church, and I'm sad. I'm frustrated. I'm lamenting this fact, right? Like, I'm the older brother. I'm supposed to be whipping up on my younger brother, and he's whipping up on me, right? It's a struggle. And my dad looks at me, and with complete sincerity, nothing but goodness in his heart towards me, he says, Austin, you're a lot like me when I was your age. You're kind of the black sheep of the family when it comes to athletics, and it's not that you can't do it, but Taylor's got giftings that you don't, and it's going to take a lot more work for you to keep up with him. And you can do it. You're just going to have to be determined. You're going to have to put in the work, and so you can do it. Just buckle up, work hard. Just trying to help me, right? But what did a frustrated, sad 11-year-old hear? You don't have what it takes. And that story, birthed in that moment, echoed through my life and rippled through my life for years. I started to shy away from opportunities in athletics and socially both. Like I said, I was a poor student. I think I became a poor student. It wasn't because I couldn't do it. I wasn't goofing off. I just had this belief that I don't have what it takes. It absolutely impacted my team's lean journey. Okay? So what did that look like? Who can tell me what these are? Morning meetings. Yep. And so does anybody remember the early days of morning meetings? I mean, norms were probably beautiful from day one, and there's just tons of engagement, and everybody's excited, and it's just beautiful, right? I remember my team staring at me, somewhere between deer in the headlights and rolling their eyes, right? And so when you have that story in your head that you don't have what it takes, and you run up against that, you start to go, can I do this? Like, is this worth it? Or should I just go back to the way it was before? And maybe it's not the morning meeting. Maybe it's a longtime team member, and they are just a linchpin in your operation, and they're pushing back on you, and they're going, Austin, we got real work to do. We don't have time for this lean shit. Let's get to work. Right? We've all had it. And if you have that story that you don't have what it takes, it starts to affect the consistency with which you execute a simple plan. And I believe the moment that that consistency goes, your team's journey suffers. So how did I combat that in my own life? Well, I'd like to tell you that there was an epiphany moment, and it just, magically cured in an instant, but that's not what happened. I had to get out of my own head, and that looked like I became a reader. I wasn't a reader. I wasn't a good student, remember? But I became a reader. I started reading the greats, Maxwell, Jocko, Jim Collins, and I had to remind myself that there are no bad teams, only bad leaders, period. And I had to confront that brutal fact within myself. And I also we've talked about mentors a lot, had amazing mentors. This is one of them to my right here is Aaron Stokes. This is us, his brother Joe, in Japan with Paul and Mommy Son a couple years ago. But he's somebody who could kick my butt and tell me to pull my head out of my ass, maybe, right? And that's been instrumental in that journey for me, and helped me in those moments where I start to question, remind myself what my dad was actually trying to tell me all those years ago, which is that with deliberate practice, you can improve at anything. But you can't stop. And so that helped me change my story. I do have what it takes. I just got to stay after it. And so I've got really good news for everybody here. You've got 50 of the best lean leaders in the world sitting around you. And so I highly encourage you to connect, to be vulnerable, because these are givers in this room. Everybody's a giver in this room. Paul wouldn't have invited you if you weren't. And so connect with the people in here. Be vulnerable. Let them in on your journey, because it matters. It matters for your team. You are the navigator for your team's journey. Yes, they create the value. Absolutely, they create the value, but it's up to you to set the course, to hold the standard, and the success of the journey is up to you. And so this morning I want to ask you, how is your team doing on their lean journey? Real honestly, how do you feel about it? And if you're not totally happy, if you don't have the results that Ryan has or that Jack has, what story are you telling yourself about why that is? Because you're telling yourself a story about why, and wrestling with what that is extremely important because your actions drive that. So how does your story need to change to create the actions so that your team can be wildly successful? Your team and your community, to Paul and Mommy Son's point, be wildly successful. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sticking around to watch. Please help us by watching this next video.